Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 multiplayer action, and we've got Pegasus Boris here with the Empire, going to be taking on the Dark Elves. Decided to try this out for myself just to see how it would go, but Boris on a Pegasus. Let's really talk about the mobile artillery here. So we've got a steam tank plus the Black Lions, so lots of long-range, heavy AP. With some additional mobility. Got some veteran spearmen to help hold the line here with the captain in the center. I had an empty hero slot, so might as well take an Empire captain on foot. Very cheap and can help give that hold the line buff to a few units potentially. We've got some Empire Knights as well, the obligatory Pistoliers, and that's pretty much it. For my Dark Elf opponent, he's got Dark Riders with repeater crossbows. Over here, some more Dark Riders in the corner. You can see this map has sort of forced him into a little bit of a weird situation with his infantry. He's got two Sisters of Slaughter on the high ground with some more Witch Elves. More Witch Elves here, a couple of Bleak Swords sort of holding the low ground, one more Bleak Sword up top. And yeah, we've also got some Dark Riders and a couple units of Shades as well. So a pretty solid build overall, but because of the terrain situation here, and of course always try and remember to take the map into account, we are going to sort of be able to force him into this situation here where I have these veteran troops to kind of defend this choke point. We have multiple missile units as well. Probably would have been in my opponent's favor to just wait and kind of spread out and try and assault on multiple fronts perhaps. There is a gap that you can get through over here for some units to try and come up and around as well. So right now, though, he's taking some damage on these Dark Riders from that steam tank, and the Black Lions, where are they? Oh yeah. Beautiful, beautiful animations there, just opening up on those Witch Elves. Going to do some decent damage initially. You do need to be pretty careful with the Black Lions because they do have relatively limited ammunition, and you know, even if they use all of their ammunition, if you're not shooting the right things, they won't necessarily get their value because they are very expensive. So just be aware. They're like many units, I would tend to not have them on fire at will, but here, because of the sloping, we do end up sort of getting some crossfire on some different units. So the fact that, you know, even though I'm not necessarily getting damage on high value units here, we're sort of able to spread some value around, which is nice. Multiple units kind of in this gap is quite decent as well. So take an overarching look, still just mostly the same. Dark Elves not moving too many units up and around here. I'm not too worried about these Dark Riders as well. My Empire Knights can more than easily deal with them should they choose to go after my artillery here, but the artillery can certainly choose to go after them up in the north of the Empire. In Kislev, the steam tank attacks you, or I don't know. But yeah, love the new color scheme on the steam tank as well. Looking very nice there as it comes in, gets some terror route on a couple of these Bleak Swords here, so we can just start to clean up this line. Boris is going to push up into the back line here and overextend himself a little bit. I do have a Lore of Deathcaster to cast Spirit Leech here. Fate of Boring as well is going to be thrown on one of those Sisters of Slaughter in just a moment, but Boris drops down. With his charge bonus and with his stats and everything active, he'll actually trade quite well with Malekith. Granted, Malekith, with his stats currently 65 and 82, will be able to hold up quite well, but I've got plenty of supporting fire. You can see the Black Lions in the distance are able to get free there from the Dark Riders and start to open up on Malekith, and they are accurate enough to consistently hit him. You can hear Malekith angrily screeching as he is hit by those Black Lions. Most uncomfortable, but again, Boris gets up in the air, gets that 109 charge bonus with Deadly Onslaught going, and drops down, just annihilates Malekith here on that cold one. So already in a very rough situation. The Dark Elves kind of getting forced into the hot gates here. Fate of Boring on those Sisters of Slaughter, and they get run over by a steam tank. We're able to sort of wrap up this little engagement here a little bit. Spirit Leech on those Dark Riders. Since I don't have much else to use it on at this point, Malekith has been shattered by Boris. Dark Riders trying to bail him out there, but not able to stop him from getting shattered, which is most unfortunate. My Witch Elves get enraged, but the steam tank is actually able to squeak away there, so it's going to continue to chase. And of course, it can use the steam gun while it's chasing like this. The main gun will not fire, but runs over some Shades there, and at that point my opponent is going to admit defeat, understandably so. I mean, battle probably would have gone on for some time because of Elves' good leadership. The Sisters of Slaughter might have been tough to kill, but I was firing now with the Black Lions up into this hill formation here, starting to get a lot of kills. You can see some of the blood spatter there from where it was shooting into the side. And yeah, it was going to be a bit much for my opponent, so understand that. I do have one more double, Black Lions plus Steam Tank replay to show you guys, so Sit tight for that. As for this one, yeah, veteran troops pretty much performed what I expected them to, sort of defending that choke point there. And yeah, just that map in general. I'm not the biggest fan of it for multiplayer rotations. It's fun sometimes in casual games between friends, but you do kind of have to take that into account. And yeah, if my opponent had maybe taken a couple of bolt throwers on the low ground and just gone with a very cavalry-centric force, try to just, utilize that open space on the low ground as much as possible and get a good surround, I would have had a pretty hard time protecting the steam tank and the Black Lions against like a lot of Cold One Knights or something like that. Like I really didn't have much cav stopping power besides their ranged attacks, to be honest. But yeah, it turned out okay in this particular battle. Let's go ahead and take a look at another replay where I do something similar here, but this time we're going to be up against the High Elves, and I've swapped out Boris on the Pegasus for an Arch Lector with the Royal Altdorf Griffites. We've got a couple archers here rather than the chevrons, just because I wanted to have the archers to be able to fire in and just give us a little bit of extra beef, if you will. A little bit of extra meat. No pistoliers in this build, which is strange for me, but right away, right up front, the tank going to be doing its job of tanking the fire of these two Shadow Walkers and a Lithanar. We've also got some Reavers, of course, the Dragon Princes, plenty of Spearmen, and some archers as well with a High Mage there. So pretty decent stuff. Right off the bat, the White Lions start to open up on those Reavers as they were just on fire at will, but we are going to start to focus on the Shadow Walkers. Pretty expensive unit, and I want to try and deal with them at range if I can. I mean, I do have plenty of different tools for dealing with them. Can charge them with Knights, I can do various things, but I'm not too worried about the Dragon Princes at this point. I've got even more tools dealing with them, right? Like these Demigryphs will deal with them quite well, but a Lithnar on the Shadow Walkers, on the other hand, actually will do reasonably well shooting at the Demigryphs or the Steam Tank or really any of those things. So we're going to move up close. You can see these archers, these very cheap Empire archers going to trade super efficiently here shooting into Shadow Walkers like this. And you can see the artillery fire also raining in from a distance there. Over on the side here, the Royal Altdorf Griffites and the Arch Lector, screaming faith buffs, going to charge in here against the Tuxedo Princes and push them back. Although they do look fabulous, they will absolutely get destroyed in this kind of a matchup, especially with the State Troop Spearmen there supporting, also getting a lot of those buffs as well. So yeah, you can see Reavers getting chased off, Dragon Prince is in a very bad situation right off the bat. Over here, I saw this coming and consciously decided not to move my archers because it was worth microing other things, like I just didn't want to spend the micro to move them. And yeah, only 350 point units, so that's just fine with me. Probably would have been better to go down the line of spears, but honestly, any of these infantry are not going to be great targets for that fiery convocation. The Cav, on the other hand, I mean, yeah, I do have the Empire Knights, which are decently cheap, but I mean, fiery convocation is just not great against Cav anyway, in my experience. I don't know, maybe it's changed now, but a lot of my army value is concentrated in just a handful of units here, obviously, with the Steam Tank, the Black Lions, and the Demigryph Knights making up a good proportion of my army, and then the rest is just, kind of all cheap support, including the heroic units, not to mention the Captain, of course, the unsung hero, giving everyone extra melee defense in this giant blob fight here. Certainly helps the Empire Knights and the Demigryph Knights as well, of course. When you have regiments of renown, of course, the only way to really give them more stats is through direct buffs, right? So you can see there 43 defense for the Altdorf Griffites from that nice Hopel line. And considering how cheap the Empire Captain is, he's also in here kind of bopping the Empire Captain. He's also in here kind of bopping the High Elf Caster as well. You can see that she's involved in this fight, which she very much does not want to be, but if we can keep the Captain on her, he'll obviously be able to dispatch her fairly efficiently. And yeah, balance of power already, again, starting to turn in my favor. In the back line, got a bit of a pickle here. Some Reavers have managed to catch the Black Lions, but they can hold out for a second, and this is risky, but we're gonna danger close fire in with some cannons here. Do a bit of friendly fire, certainly, but I figured these Black Lions could take a couple shots. I've still got plenty of Winds of Magic to be able to heal, and we are in a pretty commanding position here. Empire Knights getting in the back line, running over plenty of these archers, and the Altdorf Griffites have shredded most of those Dragon Princes, although they have been doing their best to try and stay away. The fact that I've been able to just rein in ranged fire as well with both of these high-powered ranged units, for the most part, has been quite devastating as well, even if I am just side-shotting through units of archers like that. But yeah, very good stuff. I am a pretty big fan of just, if you have an empty hero slot, there's almost no reason not to take an Empire Captain. They're not the best heroes in the world, but like if you just, if you're building your army the way you want to build it and then just find like, oh, yeah, I don't have that third hero slot filled, then very much you can just change some minor things in your army. I mean, it's very cheap to bring him, and certainly having that hold the line helpful in a multitude of situations. He can also do this, which is kind of force a little blob here. So he catches up all the Empire Spearmen, which then allows the Altdorf-Griffites to again catch out the Dragon Princes sort of in a more isolated situation. They can pick off a few models there. And then we're also going to start shooting into this blob here. You can see I pulled the Demigryph Knights away to rear charge over here. And the Black Lions and the Steam Tank are going to shoot into this blob here where the captain's surrounded. So Empire Captain, last of the infantry line, still holding the line against even a Lithanar himself here. But oh man, oh, the Empire Artillery, that mobile Empire Artillery in the distance is just way too much for the High Elves to deal with. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed that mobile artillery blasting Elves. I know it's definitely a fun time to play. Not the closest matches in the world, but give my opponents some credit there. Getting forced into that situation right off the bat, and just, because both of those artillery pieces are reasonably powerful. Steam Tanks don't have the most DPS in the world, but they are pretty accurate, and especially against, just expensive cav units in general. I guess Dark Riders aren't too expensive, but yeah, the Black Line's definitely a big threat as well. So just having that much pressure just quickly on in the early on in the battle just quickly forces your opponent to make decisions, and it can often lead to some micro mistakes in what otherwise would be very good players. Now, granted, you can do similar things with an all Vanguard type strategy, right? And this build would certainly be vulnerable to certain like heavy Vanguard, or just generally on certain maps. I don't think this would work super well, but just the fact that you can take such cost-effective heroic units here means that you can really concentrate your army value in just a handful of units and still bring a pretty viable army. I mean, we've still got a decent combined arms thing going here, but a lot of that value is concentrated in these few elite units. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this quick double cast. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.